Howdy y'all, Matt here. Today I'm talking about the costs associated with raising your own chicken. And these costs are associated with raising your own chicken on pasture using an organic standard. Before we jump in, if you've not subscribed to our channel, please consider doing that by clicking this link in the bottom right-hand part of the screen. Also, if you've not seen our other videos, you can check out the videos of what it takes to raise a chicken from beginning to end by clicking this link up here in the corner to see our playlist, or you can click the link at the end of the video. Several weeks ago, we had 98 chickens slaughtered, producing 524.41 pounds of meat. Not only this, but we got 3 pounds of chicken hearts, 12 pounds of livers, and 29 pounds of feet. Our average chicken weight was 5.35 pounds, with our smallest chicken being 3.75 pounds and our largest chicken being a whopping 6.545 pounds. When I plotted their weight distribution on a graph, it formed a nice bell curve, and again, most of these chickens ended up being in the 5.35 pound range. We raised our chickens over 67 days, which is 9 weeks and 4 days. To give you some perspective, most broilers are allowed to live 8 weeks total, so we did take ours a bit longer in hopes of putting a little bit more weight on them and getting a little bit more meat. There were several costs associated with raising our own chickens. Some of these costs included the chick itself, grit, feed, the slaughter and butcher cost, fuel cost, and a labor cost. And I'm going to break all of these down, not only the overall cost of how much each of them costs, but per chicken, how much this all costs. So first things first was the chicken itself. We ordered a straight run of male chickens, hoping that they would put on a little bit more meat. And each of these cost $2.20 each, giving us a grand total of $220. We did have to harvest a couple of these chickens early, so that's why we only took 98 of them to slaughter. But for my numbers here, I'm basing it off of 100 chickens, with the exception being the slaughter costs that I'll get to in just a moment. Our next cost was grit. Overall, the total cost for grit was $69.50, and for 100 chickens, this was just under 70 cents per bird. Now, I don't have the most accurate cost on grit for a couple reasons. One, I used some leftover grit from last year's turkey run that was not included in the cost. And the second thing is that the co-op where I bought my grit from only had the 5-pound bags available, and those were $6.95 each. Now, the problem is that the 50-pound bag, which they were out of stock of, was only $11.95. So I could have saved quite a bit of money if I had gone with the 50-pound bag versus the 5-pound bags. My cost should have been somewhere closer to 12 cents per bird versus 70 cents per bird. The next cost to consider is feed. Our overall feed cost was $1,665, taking it to $16.65 per chicken. This was far and away my largest cost, and you could do this for cheaper if you're willing to sacrifice a couple of things. But for us, we used 100% organic feed that had no corn and no soy. This tends to be quite a bit more expensive. Just the organic feed is about 30% more than conventional feed. The no corn, no soy feed can be upwards of twice the cost of conventional feed. Now, why did I use organic feed rather than non-GMO, for instance? With organic feed, I can be sure that this feed has not been treated with any sort of pesticides or herbicides in any point of the process, and I wanted to make sure that that was the case for our chickens. Why did I do the no corn, no soy? Well, I did that because that's my personal preference on how I raise my poultry. I like to eat poultry that has not been fed corn and not fed soy. There is a population that is looking for poultry that is raised in this manner. Now, it is a smaller population. It's a bit of a niche population, but that's the population that I fall into, and that's why I raised my birds with this type of feed. If you're getting conventional feed, then this isn't even going to be a consideration for you. Your feed costs will be much lower. Now, the slaughter and butchering cost was the next cost, and that overall cost was $486.20. Again, we had 98 birds processed there at this plant, which gives us a total of $4.91 per bird. Now, we could have done this a little bit cheaper at this slaughterhouse. In fact, they charge $3.50 per bird to slaughter, but I wanted to keep the organ meat and the feet because we have a value on using the most out of each of these birds that we can possibly use. So it did cost more to have them harvest and package the hearts, livers, and feet. I will say that it was absolutely worth it to me to hire a company to process these birds. They did it in a fraction of the time that it would have taken me to do it. Not only this, the end product was pretty professional looking. It was sealed very nicely in a vacuum packed bag, and it was labeled, and each of the labels had the weights of the chickens already labeled on them. The last thing I would say is that this particular slaughterhouse had a very high standard for sanitation, and they were also USDA inspected, and they let me observe the whole process, which was pretty cool. As a caveat, I will say that they were much more impersonal in their actual slaughter of the chickens. And I get it, I sound a little bit like a tree hugger here, but every time I slaughter chickens, I thank the Lord for that chicken, and I thank the chicken for giving its life so that I can have meat. But I realize that they're running a business and that they don't have time to sing Kumbaya every time they kill a chicken. So I get it. That's not a complaint, just a caveat, a point to note. The next cost was diesel to get to and from the slaughterhouse. My cost for diesel hauling our trailer was $75. For 100 birds, this equals 75 cents per bird. Obviously, if you take more chickens, you can lower that cost. I think I could easily have fit 250 chickens into my trailer, which would have brought my cost down to 30 cents per bird. The last cost was labor. Now, overall cost for labor was $990, and for 100 birds, $9.90 each. I figured $15 an hour, and I estimated about 66 hours of total work from start to finish. And now, this is probably a conservative number, as I'm sure there's hours that I did not calculate in that 66-hour estimate. So it's probably a bit higher, but I feel like 66 hours is fair. Now, you may be asking me, why is this a cost? And I will admit this is not a hard cost. Like, I did not pay myself $990. I factored this into the cost because if I were to scale up, I would need to know the cost of labor. The reality is that on a larger scale, I am not going to be the one doing the work all the time. So I need to be able to factor that in so that I could pay employees and have good estimates on final costs of what it's going to be. So the total cost of raising 100 broilers with all of these things included was $3,505.70. Now, if you divide this out per chicken, that equals $35.06 per bird. But if you calculate it out by pound, then you equal $6.68 per chicken. Now, if you factor in the organ meat and the feet, that weight comes down to $6.16 per pound. Now, to give you an idea of what this compares to for a grocery store bird, I compared the prices to a local grocery store here in Central Texas in May of 2023. And what I found was that you can get conventionally raised chickens anywhere from $1.29 a pound up to $1.79 a pound. And this is a couple of different producers who make this. So $1.29 to $1.79 a pound. Now, if you prefer an organic bird, you can get that for $3.49 a pound. For our discussion here, I'm comparing our birds with the organic birds that you can buy for $3.49 a pound. Now, comparing these two, our chicken compared to the organic chicken from the grocery store is $3.19 per pound more than that grocery store bird. So the big question is it worth it? And I'm going to answer that question from two perspectives. One, was it worth it for me personally? And two, was it worth it from a business perspective? From a personal standpoint, for me, yes, it was absolutely worth it. And I'm going to give you 3 reasons why. First, I believe that I'm getting a superior product. Our chickens were raised corn-free, soy-free, on organic feed, but they were also pasture-raised. This is simply not something that you can buy at your local grocery store. The second reason why I think that it was worth it is because of how these chickens were raised. I know personally how they were raised. They lived their best chicken life possible, much better than they would have ever been able to live on a conventional chicken farm. You're not going to buy a chicken in a grocery store that was raised with these standards of care that a small scale farmer can give them. That's not going to happen with a conventionally raised or a large scale farmed bird. The third reason why I think it was worth it is because personally, I just enjoyed it. I really liked this process. It was challenging, it was rewarding, it was fun, and it connected me more to my food. The other caveat I would add here is that we have children, and I was able to help my children understand what it takes to get food on their plate, the cost of meat, not just the financial cost, but the animal cost to having meat on the plate. So at the end of the day, you're going to have to decide for yourself if this is personally worth it. If you are satisfied with the organic chicken that you can buy on the grocery store shelves, then great, go buy that chicken. You just need to know that that chicken is not going to have the level of care that you could give it or that a local farmer could give it. It's not going to have the high quality food that you would possibly feed it. If you care about animal well-being, then I would say do it yourself or find a local farmer who's doing it with these high standards and support that guy. In fact, it might be cool to go out and connect with this guy, see his operation, and lend a helping hand. See, his prices are going to be more expensive, but it comes with a story and it comes with relationship, which I find to be exponentially more valuable than just being able to go to the grocery store and get them out of the shelves. So from a business perspective, was this worth it? To date, I've sold about half of our broilers, and I sold them for $7 a pound, and this yielded me about a 32-cent profit per pound. So from a business standpoint, the answer under these circumstances is absolutely not. It's absolutely not worth it under the circumstances that we raise them under. For this to be a viable business option, in my opinion, I would want to see at least a 25% profit, which means if we raise them at $6.68 per pound, I would want to be able to sell them for $8.35 per pound. Now, I think there's a few ways that I can boost the profit. First, like I said, I can charge more for these birds. I have seen growers in Texas that are raising birds in a similar fashion, and they are selling theirs for $10 a pound. Now, if I did this, I moved from 32 cents per pound profit to $3.32 per pound profit, which is great. The problem is, I feel at $10 a pound, you begin to price people out of the market. You're not going to have as broad of a population to sell your product to. But I think that I could probably move up to an $8.35 per pound price point and still be able to move enough chickens to make this profitable. I think the second thing that we can do is minimize our costs. And I think that this can only really happen in 3, maybe 4 places. I already mentioned this on the grit. I need to buy the 50-pound bags of grit next time, and that will lower my grit cost. The second cost, and I mentioned this as well, is fuel. If I take more birds, then I lower my fuel cost per bird. The third cost is feed. I could switch to just a standard organic feed, and that would make sure that I don't have any herbicides or pesticides, but it would not be soy-free and it would not be corn-free. Add to that, to get that feed, I actually have to drive about an hour and 40 minutes to go get it. And so that adds time and diesel into my overall cost. The cost of the organic feed I've checked is 79 cents a pound, but once you factor in your time and your fuel, it doesn't necessarily make it worth it. It might save some money, but overall, I don't think it's going to be worth it. Now, one of the things on feed costs where I think I can offset this, and I'm trial running this with my turkeys, is growing my own feed. This might be a viable option for me. I've got the property available to do it. I've got 2.5 acres that I've planted. If you don't have the property, it's simply not going to work for you. You also have to have some of the infrastructure to make it happen. Equipment to be able to prep the land and till the land and plant the land, all of those different things. So I've planted 2.5 acres with cowpeas, sorghum, millet, and buckwheat. And my hope is that using rotational grazing, I can offset my feed costs by 50%. If we're able to do this, then we're able to lower that feed cost quite a bit. I have to do some research to find out what other nutritional needs the chickens would need if we're able to graze them on the property. But I have a feeling that I'm going to have to supplement them with certain vitamins and minerals. A possible fourth area where I could save money, I could slaughter them myself. Texas allows this, and I can sell it to the public. There's a certain number of birds that I can sell, but here's the deal. I end up paying for it with my time. So that's the question you have to ask yourself. Is your time worth it? The other thing I would say is that the end product may not look as professional as having it done at a professional slaughterhouse. So you're going to have to weigh those as well. The reality is it's probably going to be a combination of both minimizing costs and raising my prices. If I can minimize costs without cutting corners, then I'm going to do it. But I want to maintain that high level of excellence in everything that we produce. So if I can cut costs and not cut corners, I'm going to do it. If not, we probably just won't make this into a business venture. So I hope this has helped you as you're determining, hey, am I going to do this myself? Am I going to do this as a business? Hopefully this helps you make some of those decisions. And who knows, maybe your costs can be different based on where you are in the world. Maybe you don't have some of these costs that I have. So anyway, hope it helps. Good luck to you in your endeavors of raising poultry. Man, go do it. It's a blast. I had a blast. If you can make a business effort out of it, go for it. We need more farmers. So thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. And I will catch you later. See y'all later. Take care.